Meu Deus, onde é o caminho, homem? Minha Nossa Senhora.
The Holloway rematch is being handled by Charles Oliveira as unresolved business rather than as a reunion tour. Training footage shows urgency, not nostalgia, and the message is clear. This is a different Oliveira preparing for a very different Max. Analysts are debating on what will matter more this time, Holloway's relentless pace or Oliveira's evolved killer instinct, but no one's calling this a replay of the past.
He's not the most dominant guy. If you watch him, he gets in bad positions and guys hurt him, but he's long and lanky, and he can use his feet like hands and tie you up and do these things with his big old long limbs. And obviously he got finished by Islam, but that's his only loss. Well, Armin, but that was a hug fest, right?
According to Joe Rogan, Oliveira's rise only appears late if you overlook how early it began. When Oliveira was thrown into the UFC as a teenager, he was surrounded by the world's best fighters and learning elite fighting, and that kind of development takes time. Rogan argues the real version of Oliveira emerged in his late 20s when experience finally caught up with talent. Since then, even the strongest candidates have found it difficult to survive him, because once he gains control, the conclusions are brutal.
And I also think that he got into the UFC when he was 20. And so part of the problem was like he was learning and developing and growing as an elite in an elite organization. How old is he? 32.
Oh, okay, wow.
32. So see, he's been around a long ass time, but he came into his own over the last few years, which kind of makes sense. Like he figured it out somewhere around 27, 28. But he comes, look, these guys are elite, right? They come close to beating him, but he finds a way to beat them. And the way he does it is so final. The way he beat Poirier, man, that choke was so fucking good. It was so good. Yeah. And that's the same way the world found out about him was Efrain Escudero, who won the Ultimate Fighter. So who was a very good fighter himself. He fought Oliveira, and Oliveira took his back same way, standing up, and choked him out. And that's when we first saw it.
Rogan circles back to what really sets Oliveira apart from the others, the accuracy and speed of his submissions. He is amazed at how well planned the openings are and how quickly Oliveira takes advantage of even the smallest opening. According to Rogan, it's not just creativity off the back, it's the efficiency. Armbars and triangles locked in before opponents fully realize they're in danger. That's how you rack up a historic submission count against the best fighters on the planet.
When you look at the guys that are really good at MMA submissions off their back, like Oliveira's real good.
Mm-hmm.
It's so crisp, though. When he gets those moments, those openings, just crisp.
Yep, right away.
Yeah, he finds those arm bars and triangles, and he cinches submissions up so quick.
Yeah.
So quick. One of the quickest guys. I mean, does he have the most submissions in the history of the sport?
Yeah. Like 20.
They're so quick, man. The technique is so smooth.
How do you have 20 submissions? How do you submit 20 of the most dangerous people in the world?
The dude's a beast. I remember his first submission win in the UFC with Efrain Escudero.
Yeah.
Remember he hopped on his back?
That perspective fits neatly with Oliveira's own mindset heading into the rematch. He doesn't see himself as diminished or desperate, just sharpened by hardship and locked in on the task ahead. For him, defeating Max Holloway is the starting point and the finish line. There is no long-term planning or diversion. He thinks that if he takes care of that business first, the greater benefits will come organically, and another run at the title will be a result rather than a demand.
If you beat Max Holloway here, do you think we need to start talking about you as a title contender once more?
E depois da tua luta contra o William, muita gente te chegou a desconsiderar, te tirou do páreo, mas você foi lá. Uma grande vitória no Rio de Janeiro, tremenda vitória contra o Matheus Gamrot. Uma vitória contra o Max Holloway, você acha que o pessoal começa a te ver de novo no páreo para ser de campeão?
Como eu sempre venho falando, o Leão ferido ainda continua sendo Leão, ainda estou no jogo, nada mudou. Eu acabei de vir de uma grande vitória e com certeza eu sempre foco na minha próxima luta. O foco total agora é Max Holloway e aí Se Deus abençoar e for da vontade dele eu passar, com certeza, por que não ser o próximo do título?
As I said, a wounded lion is still a lion. All I'm focused on is on a win. I'm focused on the next fight and to win. All I want now is to fight Max Holloway and get a fight. And if God willing, if that's his wish, I'm gonna get a shot at the title after getting him.
And Islam Makhachev has the perfect solution for Oliveira, offering respect rather than rivalry. He speaks highly of Oliveira's skill set, highlighting the balance between striking and submissions, and suggests that the only missing piece is more exposure to elite wrestling. From his perspective, the door is open, not as a challenge, but as an invitation, hinting that even among the division's toughest names, Oliveira is seen as someone worth sharpening, not dismissing.
Charles is a good guy. If I can help him one day, he can join with us to the camp, come to Dagestan. He have very good striking, high-level grappling. We can help him with the wrestling.
He faces Kobe. What's your...
I think Charles can finish him.
Holloway, on the other hand, views the rematch more as an open question than as a source of resentment. He acknowledges that the first meeting ended without real clarity and sees this as a chance to finally let the fight play out properly. He presents it with excitement rather than resentment. Facing someone he views as a pillar of the sport, Holloway sounds eager to meet the moment head-on and settle it the only way that matters, inside the cage.
And what is the unfinished business for you? Because you obviously were the winner of the first fight, even though it ended strangely.
I mean, you know, he had his injury, so at the end of the day, we get to figure out how it goes come March 7th. I'm just excited, man. He's a legend of the sport. He deserves this moment, and I can't wait to go out there and give it to him.
He also addresses the lingering questions about their first fight with characteristic directness and throws some shade. When asked about the rumors of Oliveira being injured, he keeps it straightforward. From what he's seen and read, there's no evidence to suggest anything was amiss. For Holloway, the focus isn't on speculation or what-ifs, it's on the fight itself and the rematch, where the only thing that matters is what happens inside the cage. He seems intent on leaving the past behind and treating their next clash as a fresh, decisive chapter. Every word he speaks signals that his mindset is locked in on proving himself once and for all.
We'll just get straight to the point. Was he injured or not?
Who?
Charles, in your first fight. That's the big rumor, right?
I don't know. There's I believe there's one of the MMA guys did a follow-up with him, and I swear, you know, call me crazy, but I swear in the write-up it said nothing was wrong. So that's what I'm going off of.
Do you think maybe, listen, I'm being serious, do you think maybe Charles did sort of not conjure up an injury to say facing that fight, but do you think maybe he wasn't as injured as he's saying? What is your takeaway from him saying there's an injury and that's why the fight ended?
I mean, I think he had an injury for sure in that area. I think it might have felt like he re-injured it in the moment, you know, and, you know, he's just taking precautions, but it is what it is, you know. The beautiful thing, that thing happened ages ago. I'm so over it, bro. It is what it is. And we get to find out here on the 9th Island, March 7th, for the BMF title. So I'm just blessed.
Holloway then reflects on just how much both fighters have evolved since their first meeting, emphasizing that the version of Oliveira stepping into the cage now isn't the same one from years ago. He acknowledges that Charles has polished his striking and added new layers to his game, but he frames the growth as more visible than necessarily greater. From a fan's perspective, it might look like Oliveira has made the bigger leap, simply because his improvements are easier to see, while Holloway quietly built on his own skills behind the scenes.
To be in this position.
I feel like this is one of those fights where like everyone's going to talk about the first fight and stuff like that, but it did, as you said, happen so long ago. You two are completely different, especially I feel like Charles is very different from what he was back then. When you look at your game and how it's evolved and his game and how it's evolved, who do you think's added more to your repertoires?
I mean, I don't know. You know, Charles is always known as a jiu-jitsu guy, and he's still being that jiu-jitsu guy. I mean, he did get his striking better. Overall, I would probably have to say that people would probably think Charles probably grew more just because he's actually showing his striking now versus I'm not going out there submitting people. So to the naked eye, to the regular fan, I'm guaranteed they're going to say, no, hey, Charles got way better. You know, look at his striking. You're just striking all the time. So.
Meanwhile, Justin Gaethje doesn't hold back when talking about just how dangerous Max Holloway is. Reflecting on their past encounter, he admits that taking a knockout like the one Holloway delivered would be more than just a loss. It would be a career-defining moment. He's not willing to risk repeating. For Gaethje, it's both a statement of respect and a measure of self-preservation, showing just how much power and precision Holloway carries. Experiencing it once was enough to understand that facing Holloway at full strength is a serious gamble, and he isn't interested in putting himself in that kind of position again.
It doesn't have to be from a negative,
not at all,
sense, and it wasn't. It was just the truth. Like if I get knocked out again, like Max Holloway knocked me out, I would be done. Like I would not allow myself to risk being in that position again, and that's the truth. But that does not make me 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like that is how I fight. That is more pressure, and luckily pressure makes me better.
Yeah, 100%.
But you have to be honest.
On the other hand, MMA Guru breaks down why Oliveira might have the edge if the fight hits the ground. He's particularly impressed with the evolution of Charles' takedown game, noting how much more technical and forceful it's become compared to earlier fights. Gone are the days of failed back attempts. Now Oliveira is using grips on the hips and clever setups to control and lift opponents, turning throws and trips into high-percentage takedowns. According to Guru, this added dimension could be decisive against Holloway, giving Oliveira a real shot at taking the fight to the mat and hunting an early submission.
How does Max versus Charles go? I'll go Oliveira, chat. Who else is very impressed with his takedown entries that he's added to his game? Even when he went for it on Ilya and went for the 50-50 throw, I was like, oh my God, dude, he's strong in this double under position. He's never been like that before. He always used to shoot in and try and get the back from it and fail to take down. Like he was never picking up Gaethje and dunking him or getting his hands behind the arse of Poirier and getting his hands connected and dunking him down. It was very throw and trip oriented, but he's now like getting in on the hips. Hands connected, picking him up. Picking up Gamrot like that, even though Gamrot balanced and stayed in a good position and then eventually gave up his back anyway. His entries are a lot better, so I think he would get down.
Continuing his take, MMA Guru predicts that Holloway won't be able to put Oliveira down early, at least not in the first round. Instead, he highlights how Oliveira's offensive wrestling has improved to the point where takedowns are realistic. By combining precise timing with pressure, Oliveira could capitalize on openings and use his refined technique to bring Holloway to the mat, turning his new takedown entries into a potential early advantage. Guru suggests that if Oliveira gets that early control, it could set the tone for the entire fight.
Holloway's not going to drop him in the first round. I don't think, anyway. I don't know. I think he'll actually be able to get takedowns because his offensive wrestling has massively improved. And watching Ilya shooting on the hips of Holloway, pick him up and dunk him on the ground like that in round 1, with Oliveira's pressure earlier, I can see that working.
Moreover, Bedtime MMA calls this an exciting rematch, noting that both fighters have leveled up considerably since their first clash. While he leans toward Holloway as the likely winner, he points out that a victory won't necessarily guarantee a title opportunity. If Holloway takes it, his next fight could be an unusual matchup, like a co-main for the BMF belt later in the year, whereas a win for Oliveira might still land him against Paddy Pimblett regardless. Either way, it's a clash that will really show how much each has grown.
This is a sick matchup. I think both of these guys have improved so much from when they first fought. I do think Max Holloway is going to win this, but it's weird because whoever wins this, I really don't see them getting a title shot. Like, I think if Max wins, his next fight will probably be some weird shit like BSD for the BMF belt as a co-main event later in the year. If Charles wins this, I think he's still going to get Paddy Pimblett regardless of if he wins or loses.
Then James Lynch shares his perspective on the matchup while reflecting on UFC history and missed opportunities. He admits he would have loved to see Arman Tsarukyan face Holloway rather than waiting on a title shot that might take too long to materialize. Instead, the spotlight lands on the Oliveira rematch, which Lynch frames as a high-stakes, long-awaited battle. He also revisits their first encounter on the UFC Saskatoon card, noting that an injury robbed fans of a real contest and made that fight feel incomplete, setting the stage for a rematch that promises a definitive outcome this time around.
Picky thing. I would like to see Arman Tsarukyan fight Max Holloway only because I think it's going to be a while before Arman fights, and I know people will say he deserves the title shot, but we know what's happening right now. It's going to be Gaethje. It's going to be Paddy for the interim title. Where does Arman fit into this? I don't know, but I don't want to see Arman on the shelf waiting around to get an opportunity. I would have rather seen him fight Max Holloway, but nonetheless, this is a very good fight. Rematch, actually. If you remember their first fight happened a long time ago. It was at the UFC Saskatchewan card. And it's funny because I don't think the UFC's been back to Saskatchewan since then. That fight, the first fight, was a neck and shoulder injury. You could probably find it somewhere on YouTube, but it like really wasn't a fight. And this was a card too where this was sort of like the marquee fight on.
Additionally, Kenny Okoye explains why Oliveira has quietly become a bigger threat than many realize. Coming off a performance that outshined even top wrestlers like Game Rock, Oliveira's growth is impossible to ignore. Okoye points out that beyond his grappling, Charles's pressure and striking on the feet are underrated weapons. His forward-moving, relentless style forces opponents into mistakes, even against elite strikers. While he admits someone like Ilya Sipora is a unique counter-striker, Oliveira's approach, constant, aggressive, and precise, can overwhelm fighters who underestimate how complete he's become.
Charles Oliveira, similar to Max Holloway, is coming off a performance that I feel like makes people realize, like, hold up a minute, because Charles just seems so much better than Gamrot, who's probably known as the best freestyle wrestler in the lightweight division before that fight. You know, oh, dude, I know, man. I know. Like they kept talking about, and I was one of them, but the reason I picked Charles is because I did feel like Charles' overwhelming presence is going to be too much. Because something people sleep on is Charles Oliveira's pressure and striking on the feet. It's not that Charles can't strike, guys. I gotta like preface something. Elite Topuria is a special type of striker. As in, like, Elite Topuria will counter you to an oblivion if you just walk forward like an imbecile. No offense to Charles, but that's kind of Charles' fight style. Charles is going to walk forward.
Now it's your turn. What do you think will happen in this rematch? Who walks away with the win this time? Drop your predictions in the comments. Share your thoughts. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any fight breakdowns.